Welcome to No Excuses, my place to be amazing and to live a very happy, very healthy life. Or at least try to. And today we are going to be reviewing a book. I had set a goal to read at least one edifying book a month. And by edifying, I mean something that's nonfiction, because I tend to read fiction. And that's just, I like fiction. So I wanted to actually expand my horizons and read more consistently books that would actually teach me something, show me something, give me a different viewpoint, something like that. And so I have been reading at least one book a month. And I've read a lot of interesting books this year thus far. And this month is no different. I actually picked this book up because of a recommendation from a coworker. My coworker was like, "Hey, Mary Fran, you've got to read this book." And she was like, "I don't like to read, but I couldn't put this book down." So that was a good recommendation. So I picked it up. And she was right. I couldn't put it down. And the book that I read was Appointment to Jerusalem by Lydia and Derek Prince. And this book is actually a lot about the power of prayer. Now, I want to backtrack and say that I am a believer. And I want to say that the way that I worship is very conservative. I grew up Grace Brethren, and that's my beliefs. And some of the practices in this book are outside of the realm of what my form of worship is. But there are tons of ways to worship. The biggest thing is that you are a believer. Jason and I were talking about this the other day with baptism. How are you baptized? I was baptized by triune immersion. He was baptized by one. And it doesn't make anything wrong. It's just a different interpretation. The meaning behind the baptism is what mattered. And this book is the same. There are some things that I'm not personally endorsing, but the power of prayer is really what this book is about. So that said, the book, like I said, is Appointment to Jerusalem. And the premise of the book is about a lady who lived a very wealthy and affluent life in Denmark in the 1920s. She was a teacher. She actually had a proposal for marriage. She was living good. She had money in the bank. She was doing great. Loved her job, all of that. But she was missing something. And she kept getting drawn back to the Bible. She actually talked about how she really wasn't familiar with the Bible, but it was part of the curriculum for her teacher education back in that time frame in Denmark. And she kept getting drawn to the Bible, so she started to read. And she had a come to Jesus moment. She had a conversion. And she turned her life around. And she started a very, very serious relationship with God and the power of prayer. She started praying a lot. And she started getting things revealed to her. And she would follow up on them. She knew she had to follow up on them, so she did. And and so the story is going through here. And then all of a sudden she felt drawn to Jerusalem. And she was praying. She says, "God, I don't want to go to Jerusalem. What am I going to do in Jerusalem? What am I going to do? How am I going to make money? What am I going to do? I would have to leave my job, leave my security, sell my apartment, all of my belongings. What in the world?" And she actually prayed, "Lord, if you want me to go to Jerusalem, make someone give me $5 tomorrow." And the next morning woke up and in her mind, she's like, "Who in the world is going to give me $5? Because everybody knows that I have money in the bank. I, have a very nice job. Who's going to give me $5? And so she tried to work it out in her head. It won't be a coworker because, and it won't be this, and maybe somebody will do this and somebody will do that. She waited all day and she opened up her mail really anxiously because somebody was probably going to send her $5 and nothing came. And she went to bed and she was like, "Okay, I guess that's not meant to be." And at 10 o'clock that night, somebody knocked on her door. And it was a coworker. And this coworker was like, "I don't know what's happening, but I was doing my nightly prayers and I just had this overwhelming need to come give you money." And she handed her $5. And the thing that got this about me is the next day, the teacher came to her. She goes, I don't know what happened. I wanted to give you 20, but when I got there, all I could do was reach for the 5 and give you a 5. And she gave her and she gave her the 15 too. So the teacher got her $5 and she knew her answer. So, throughout the book, she was learning about the power of prayer. She was praying. And, there were times where she was like, I don't know how I'm going to survive. I don't have the money for this. I don't have the money for that. And somebody would knock on her door, at the crack of dawn, saying, I'm so sorry I'm here early, but God just laid it on my heart to send you this. And the money and what her needs were always supplied. She actually did go to Jerusalem and didn't know what she was going to do, but she ended up starting a girls' home, like an orphanage, and taking care of a lot of children. She adopted a lot of them also, and did amazing work. So, it did amazing work, never with the backing of a mission or a church, always on her own, and and her needs were always supplied through prayer. I mean, this story is incredible. She was in Jerusalem and it was under siege. There was, fighting, and people were locked in their houses, and she had a little baby with her, and she had no food, no water, no milk for this baby. And she's like, I have to do something. And she remembered a friend that was living, a mile away, that had a cistern so that she could at least have water for this baby. And she prayed, and she made it through blockades and barricades and fighting and bullets, and, with the help of what she says is an angel, a literal angel. It's just a really neat look at prayer. So yeah, that was my book. That was my edifying book for August, and might pick up another one, who knows. It was a good one. It was a really good book. It really made me sit back and look at my prayer life. How am I praying? How am I working? Am I doing what I need to do? So I highly recommend this book. My friend did not steer me wrong, and I'm not going to steer you wrong. Read this book. It will make you look at your prayers in a different way. Anyway, pick up a book, read. Pick up this book. It's in the description below. And if you've read this one, let me know what you think, because I'd like to know what your thoughts are about this book. No excuses.